All right, this is very exciting here, Karan. I'm very excited. It's only a matter of minutes before Jeff Bezos and his brother head up into space. I'm a big space guy. I'm pretty excited
I've
about
heard.
this. Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that Jeff Bezos is heading into space. My only problem his is why does he have to come back? Can he just stay up there and float around for the rest of eternity? I do have a problem with a couple of things, and maybe you do too. I don't even know your stance on space. If you're one of
Love
these
space.
space guys, you love space.
I'm a
So
space guy. Yeah.
are you excited for the big launch of Blue Origin? Jeff Bezos, the second billionaire who will head into space this month. Both of them apparently beating Elon Musk, the SpaceX guy, who's always shooting rockets into space. But anyway, Jeff Bezos is headed into space. There are 4 people in this pilotless aircraft, and I'm looking at their picture right now, and I'm not happy. And I don't think anybody should be happy. There is very little diversity on this voyage. I don't know if you noticed. There are no people of color. There are no transgender space astronauts on this, and I am Jeff Bezos is the ultimate super wokester. He owns the Washington Post. That's the media wing of the woke mob. That's his little plaything, and he owns Amazon, obviously. And they don't sell controversial books, and they are super woke. And I cannot believe this rocket is going into space with no people of color, no transgender astronauts. Hell, we got a transgender person on the cover of the SI swimsuit issue, and we'll get to that. But no one in Jeff Bezos's rocket.
But there's diversity of age, though. You got an 18-year-old kid and you got an 82-year-old woman.
He's got an 18-year-old from the Netherlands. I don't even know why they picked him. And an 82-year-old woman who was in the space program in the 60s, but was denied a chance to go into space because of her gender. And now she's getting the chance. But don't you worry if the thing blows up in what they call that re-entry? Yeah, blows up. I mean, the 82-year-old obviously had a good long life, but the 18-year-old, I'm sorry if I'm mom or dad, I don't want my kid going up into space with Jeff Bezos. But that's happening any moment now, and all the space nerds are excited. And how long was he in? He's going to be in space for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, not very long at all.
And they're just going to float around and like the Richard Branson's people did that.
Virgin,
They were without gravity. What do you call that when you're floating around the spaceship?
Yeah.
They did that for like 3 minutes. It was like 3 minutes. That was it for Richard Branson. And then they came back to Earth, and they all survived. And all the space nerds were very happy. But they had their last meal. Jeff Bezos made it funny. He joked about having their last meal before heading to space. And there's a big media contingent. I'm sure they're all just they probably all one way or the other work for Jeff Bezos.
True.
And they're all there to write and talk about what a bold, brave explorer Jeff Bezos is, and what a great American. But we will keep an eye on that for our Facebook and our YouTube viewers who are watching live. It's happening in 56 minutes. I'm pretty excited, but I really don't care how it goes.
You're excited, but you're not excited. No, I think it's cool. I think in this regard, Elon Musk is right that humanity is fragile, being on one planet, and so establishing another colony on Mars is a good idea long term.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen. Like a week from Tuesday, we're going to start a colony on Mars. This is just an ego trip.
20 years.
This has nothing to do with establishing a colony on Mars. There's plenty of room on this planet. Bezos is just one of these billionaires, and Branson and Elon Musk, and they're bored. Bezos is building a $500 million yacht, the biggest yacht in the world. I'm sure it'll have a massive carbon footprint, but there'll probably be like a windmill on it or some kind of composting station. They'll say, look, it's green. He's concerned about the environment. It has a tender boat that has a helicopter landing pad. Not just the yacht, but the tender boat also has a helicopter. It's like Allen's yacht. And Paul Allen is not in Bezos's league anymore, financially, but he has a submarine on his yacht, so he can drop down cruise around in a submarine. These guys are running out of things to do, to buy, to keep their, to keep their interest and
I
excitement.
think that's super unfair. Honestly, I think that's unfair. I think part of that is they want the adventure, but I do believe that Elon believes that the Earth is fragile. You've seen Earth get extinguished, life from Earth has been extinguished a few times in the history of the planet. And, for humanity to keep going and survive another comet, we need another planet.
So Earth is fragile, and you're going to build a $500 million yacht that will just
That's Bezos. I'm talking about Musk.
Musk. That's true. He invented the Tesla, so we can't, or he produced the Tesla, so we can't knock Musk. I mean, I like Musk. Musk is a kind of a rabble rouser. He's always stirring things up, and I like that.
I can't wait.
He's just a little dangerous.
I can't wait. Good. I can't wait to spend my last few days of my life on Mars. I think that'll be a good way to end it.
Good. Yeah. Good way to end your life. Go to Mars.
Well, I mean, when I'm 95 years old, I got nothing left. I'll go see the red planet and die there peacefully.
Have you been to Hawaii?
No, not yet.
So wouldn't you rather just go to Hawaii? Wouldn't that be a better adventure than going to Mars?
I think I'll do both. I'll go to Hawaii and to Mars.
You're a surfer. Wouldn't you rather go to Australia than go to Mars? There's no surfing on Mars.
Yeah, but I can visit these places, and I'm saying when I'm past the point of being able to surf, when I'm an old, fragile man, 95 years old, I'll die peacefully on Mars.
I have to say, you're a smart guy. You seem to have your stuff together, but you're not a kid. You're not a kid anymore. You're in your 40s, and you're going to surf camp with your wife.
Camp.
That's what you do when you're 18 or even 13 or
right.
14.
I wanted to have a little bit of an adventure when I was away. I didn't want to just sit around reading a book for a week.
That's not that adventurous. Going to the beach in New Jersey. That's not that adventurous.
Well, I was surfing though, not just on the beach, but actually.
You went to New Jersey and you played mini golf and you ate ice cream. That's not that adventurous.
What's your adventure? What do you do for adventure?
I didn't say. I don't want to go to space. I hate space. I like going to the beach. I like going to the beach. I like playing golf. I like and not mini golf, regular golf, and I like traditional summer fun. I love summer. I don't want to go to Mars. I don't even want to go to in the summer, like go to Montana. I have a couple of friends. They're going to Montana this summer. I'm like, why don't you just go to Maine or New Hampshire? And Montana they have bears there, or they have like mountain goats. And I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the world at some point. Not the whole world. I don't want to go to China. I don't want to go.
You do want adventure. You do want adventure.
But I'd like to someday go to Hawaii. I haven't been to Hawaii. I'd like to someday go to Australia. Go to the beaches there, see what it's like. But I don't want to sit in a plane for 24 hours, especially now with a mask on. I definitely don't want to do that.
No.
And those, by the way, those lawmakers, those weasels from Texas that ran to D.C. to stop the voting ID law, they ruined it for everyone. I mean, they're not going to let people on planes without masks for years because of those snakes. They ruined it. There's 5 of them who've tested positive. They probably spread the disease to the vice president, Chuck Schumer. I mean, everybody else they met with, Liz Warren called them freedom fighters. They probably infected her too. But no one's going to be allowed on a plane without a mask for the rest of my life. I'm telling you. And by the way, is Bezos? We haven't seen. Is he masked up on this spaceship? He better be.
I doubt it. There's just 4 of them on there. They don't need masks. But this is a real insurrection. Actually, the January 6th, not the January 6th guy, the Dems running for their lives in Texas. That's a real insurrection spreading COVID throughout the government.
That's a good point. They did. They took COVID from Texas, brought it. That's how these things, get out of control.
That's it.
Took it to D.C., spread it. They rushed Kamala Harris to Walter Reed for testing. And by the way, they said she tested negative, but if you're with someone and you get tested 5 minutes later, does it show up? I mean, doesn't it take some time to incubate?
I think so. The antibodies, yeah.
I'm no Dr. Fauci here, but you don't just test positive the minute you interact with someone. So she interacts with these frauds from Texas, and then we find out that they're all positive for coronavirus because they flew on an airplane without masks. They didn't take the precautions. They were reckless. They were dangerous. They were trying to kill people. Kind of like John Kerry. Every time he flies, he tries to kill people. No one seems to mind because, he's John Kerry. He's busy saving the earth. But then they meet with all these important people. And now we're waiting. Are we not just waiting to find out if Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer and Liz Warren are affected? Isn't that how that works?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be a wild story. If they passed the virus on to the 47th president, Kamala Harris, while they were partying and being honored and being fawned over by the beautiful people in D.C., that is going to be wild. The only way the Bezos story is wild is if something happens. Hell, this isn't even the first billionaire to do it this month. What's the big deal? Unless something goes wrong, what's the big deal?
I think the more we do it, the better. The more that it happens, the safer it becomes.
What becomes? Just billionaires taking a joyride?
No, I mean, the cost of space travel has gone down exponentially since Elon Musk started SpaceX. It really has. That's why NASA hires him to do rockets.
And I like the fact that we don't have to spend taxpayer money.
Totally.
Although Jeff Bezos probably gets more tax breaks than anyone in the history of the world. But
true.
I liked a lot of things Trump did. I didn't care about Space Force. I know he'd talk about Space Force. It meant nothing to me. I don't think when you have real problems here on Earth, like, the problems at the southern border and the problems, you name it, the inflation coming, the budget deficits, you don't sit there and say, let's throw another $1 billion at the space program because maybe someday we'll colonize Mars.
No argument for me there.
Do that another day, or let the private sector do it, which is apparently what we're doing. So yes, I'm not a big Bezos fan, but I commend him. Use your own money if you want to play out in space. Use your own money. Get your other billionaire, trillionaire friends to kick in and have a good time. Let us know how it goes, and then they're going to start selling flights, right? Like 200,000, you can go up into space and selling flights to other billionaires who are bored here on Earth. Good luck. Have fun. No problem with what you do with your free time, going nuts up there. It's kind of like every other story. This is freedom. This is America. You want to spend your money and go to space? Go to space. Just don't rely on the government. We all agree on that, Mr. Libertarian?
Of course. Yeah. Privatize everything. Yes. I don't need funding for space from the government. No.
But we'll keep you updated. He's going up in whatever it is, 40 something minutes. And you know what? The libertarian in me is winning the internal battle. I'm struggling with this Brandy Love story. I have to be honest with you, Carano. Brandy Love, as we talked about yesterday, it went viral. It became a huge story, which is the problem. If you're Turning Point USA, a conservative organization for young people, college kids, high school kids, they say, you made a decision to make this to make this go viral, to make this a bigger deal than it was. They made a decision, a moral decision. They're right. Obviously, it's a private organization. They can do what they want. But then on Saturday night, when Brandy Love showed up, bought her own ticket, a VIP ticket, which cost like $500, she wanted to hear Charlie Kirk speak and Dan Bongino speak and maybe Ron DeSantis the next day. She's a big fan, a big conservative, huge, Bongino and DeSantis fan. So she buys a ticket. She did tweet and kind of give herself. Well, she wasn't going under the radar. She was tweeting to her 800,000 followers.
Yes.
Video. But she goes to the event. She doesn't, hand out DVDs of her finest work.
She does not.
She does not, take her clothes off and perform. She just goes to watch and listen to conservative speakers because she's a genuine conservative. Now, they make the call. I assume Charlie Kirk makes the call that he doesn't want her there. He doesn't approve of her vocation and wants her out and has her removed and refunds her money. This sparked a debate among right wingers, people like me, and I defend her. Here's my take, and it's simple. We talked about it yesterday. It's simple. If she's just going there to watch and listen, what's the big deal? You don't have to even know. You don't have to. It doesn't matter what she does for a living unless she's a criminal. As I said yesterday, if it's Hunter Biden, if it's a stone cold criminal, then you could say, we don't want your kind here. But what she's doing is legal. She's doing adult films, which I understand. They're not for everybody. I don't want my kids watching Brandy Love's greatest hits. It's for adults, consenting adults. And I bet you that some of the people, and this is true, some of the people who wanted her out, whether it's Charlie Kirk or what the rest of his board or the people in charge of Turning Point, are probably quietly in their own private time big fans of Brandy Love, but they wanted to take the moral high ground, and they said, get her out of there, and they kicked her out.
That's the promise. It's such a lie. It's because what do you get? Like 80% of the audience watches porn, or 50% of the audience watches porn. If there's a few people there, you got to expect that some of them have OnlyFans, some of them have posed nude before. It's so dumb. I know. I agree with you. Private organization can do what you want, but they just made a huge story out of this, and this is a Big Tent thing. They should have let her stay.
And I know. I mean, you're not talking about a stunt. When you see things, people showing up at these events, whether it's CPAC or a Republican convention, oftentimes it's stunts, and it's people who don't, believe a word of they're not like-minded conservatives. They're there to stir things up, and she, I guess, by her own presence, stirs things up, because of who she is. But if you follow her on Twitter, and I have to, because she's an outspoken conservative, and as somebody wrote, there was a couple, Matt Walsh, the Daily Wire guy, was pretty passionate in support of the decision to kick her out. In others took the other side. I'm going to go with you on this one, Karan. I'm going to go with the libertarian and say,
there you go.
Unless she's promoting porn, unless she's promoting her job, her movies, why do you care if she just sits there and smiles? She's a happy warrior. She's always tweeting, positive things about this younger. She's no kid. She's 48 years old, but she is a fan of this group, of these people, of Charlie Kirk, of Dan Bongino, and she went there to listen to them, to watch them speak, and she paid for her ticket, showed up. I mean, she's again, she got some video of her walking in and a video of the whole event, but what's wrong with that? Do you really think she's going to win like some converts to porn? Like she's going to influence these 18-year-old female conservatives to, suddenly get into porn? I mean, do you know what every single person who attends your event does for a living, Charlie Kirk? Do you vet them that closely? Will you say, everybody who buys a ticket, do you do honest work? And again, she's not dealing drugs. She's not, bilking people out of their money. She's just doing adult films. That's what she does. And I think, maybe Matt Walsh or maybe Charlie Kirk is not hypocritical. Maybe they don't watch her movies. Maybe they don't watch any porn. Maybe they're genuinely morally opposed to it. But can't you separate it and just say, I don't like what she does, but she paid her money. She's cheering. She's having a good time. She's promoting these guys and their ideas. She's expanding the tent, the base. We got a big tent. And if you're going to, I'm sure most of her fans, big fans, are libertarian in some way. Maybe they're big conservatives, but they certainly believe in the freedom to do what she does. And maybe there's some people there who think it should be illegal, outlawed. I think that's sort of what Matt Walsh believes.
Maybe that's what he believes. But I think like that's what's missing in the conservative movement is the live and let live streak that used to be there. And now that that's gone, a lot of the live and let live people have gone over to the Democrat side. And
it's not gone. It's not gone. I don't think it's
everybody, but for people like Matt Walsh, that's really disappointing that he feels that way.
But I think it's genuine. I think I've heard him. He believes, and I'll tell you why I think there is. That's not crazy to say. I don't think porn should be illegal. That's nuts. These are consenting adults doing the most natural thing in the world. But it is much, much too easily accessible. Every 13-year-old boy can grab his phone or his iPad and watch the most hardcore, you know, gang bang scenes, and you name it, they could see it. There's no governors in place. Obviously, there are OnlyFans, things you have to sign up for, things you have to subscribe to. But if you just want to look at the free stuff, it's all there. I mean, it's all there, and there really isn't any controlling it, unless you as a parent don't let your kid have a phone, which is hard to do. It's if you've ever been a parent, that's not easy to do when your kid is 14, 15, 16, and all their other kids, and you could say you're not allowed to go on that website, you're not allowed to use that computer, but you can only do so much to stop your kid from seeing the most hardcore stuff
But
there
that's the
is out
trade-off.
there.
That's the trade-off with freedom. Freedom only works if people take responsibility for their own actions and the actions of their family and kids. It doesn't work otherwise.
Okay,
And
so now you tell me how to stop a 13-year-old boy
that's
from
easy. I
getting
mean,
on
yes.
YouPorn.
Yeah, so you can put brakes on content delivery for your kids. I mean, there are computers, there are phones. You can, even at the modem itself, you can do it. There are parent control techniques that you can use.
And
Technology that you can
just
use
think
for
how easy it would be to beat. So you put the controls on his phone, and then he goes to his friend's house, or you go out and he gets on your computer.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would also talk to my kids and say, "Hey, listen, this is kind of uncomfortable, really adult stuff." I would have the same conversation with them about violence on TV as well. But I would rather them watch that than a bunch of people getting slaughtered on.
No, well, I mean, neither is good.
True.
But things they can learn, on YouPorn or on Pornhub. And if you said you had to be 18 to watch that, and there was genuinely a way to make sure 14-year-olds were not watching everything on YouPorn, I would say I'm all for that. And I understand it's the parent's job first and foremost,
Sure.
but you can't, as you point out, I mean, if it was child pornography, what would you say if they could access a guy with a 12-year-old girl, or a bunch of sex slaves, kids, whatever? You'd say, oh no, they can't see that. I'd say, of course they can't. How do you stop it? You regulate it. So you regulate it to the point where I don't know how, and it probably will never happen. And to me, it doesn't matter anymore. My son's old enough; he can make his own call on this. But it is hard for a parent of a 13-year-old boy, and a girl, of course, as well. But I think mostly boys sitting there going, "Holy crap, he's watching." He clicked, a couple of buttons, and boom, he gets to watch this scene, this video. It's should be harder. That's all I'm going to say. It should be harder for children to access the most hardcore stuff there is out there. So I agree with that. But back to Brandy. Why bother? Why make a big deal out of it? Why make it a story? Just let her watch, let her listen, let her have a good time. If she violates your rules about videotaping things, sending them out when you don't want her to do that, and then you can have a reason to boot her out of there. But if she's just sitting there because she's a big fan of you guys, of Charlie Kirk, of Bongino, of DeSantis, let her enjoy herself. Let her pay her money. And I thought it was a good look, to be honest with you. It's like, look, we're not just stodgy, moralizing conservatives. We have this woman and her 826,000 followers on Twitter who are paying attention to this big event in Florida on a summer weekend. When you kick her out, I mean, I think it's fair to say that all 800,000 of the followers were like, what are they doing to Brandy?
Oh yeah.
You upset, you pissed off a lot of people, and I'm not sure you have nearly as much support for kicking her out as you do people who are not happy with TP Turning Point, TP USA. But we'll see. She's enjoying her time as a rebel here, as a pariah in the conservative movement, and she'll take advantage of it. And she'll probably have 1 million followers by next week. But we'll see how the debate goes. It became a pretty passionate debate from both sides on whether Brandy belongs there. if she didn't tell anybody or tweet about it, or maybe she, I don't know, wore a hat and you didn't see the long blonde hair, would it have been a story at all? If she
No.
just sat there and watched and listened and then maybe tweeted after it was over, you wouldn't have thought of anything of it. People would have laughed and said, hey, a famous porn star, Brandy Love, Tracy, what's her name? Gil Lover or something, her real name. She was there. Oh, yeah, good. Let's move on. It wouldn't have been a big deal. They made it a big deal. And they played right into her hands by kicking her out. And I don't think libertarians like you, Carano, say, that's it. I'm done. I'm voting for Kamala Harris because they kicked Brandy Love out. It's just not a good look to say, we don't want you here because we don't approve of your lifestyle. But anyway, you want to hear how I can transition to our next story here?
I'd love to.
The other thing, porn, the easy access to porn for kids, for teenage boys, has done, and I've said this, for a few years now, I see the SI swimsuit issue and I say, that doesn't really have a purpose anymore. It used to be 16-year-old boys brought it up to their bedroom and, they were allowed to have it. And they had their fun with Elle Macpherson or, whoever, I don't know, Giselle Bundchen or whoever was on the cover or in the magazine. It was just gorgeous women in really skimpy bikinis, a couple of articles, but mostly it was just, I don't know, soft porn for children, for boys. And guys, adults look at it and say, wow, she's hot. It has transitioned into the biggest pile of woke garbage you've ever seen. And I can't believe Sports Illustrated. I said this a few weeks ago. I've been a subscriber for 40 years. I worked there for a while, so I got a free subscription for a while, but it's been showing up in the mail at my house for 40 years. This month, July 2021, I'm done. And it's not because of this issue, although I'm not sure I'm going to get the issue because I'm letting my subscription lapse, and I think it comes out this week. Hopefully I get it. But anyway, last couple of weeks ago, they had an issue where they scolded you for not supporting the WNBA. The headline was, why aren't you watching the WNBA? And it's like, what? I mean, because I don't want to watch. And then the next week, the cover was gamers, video game players.
There you go.
The cover of Sports Illustrated. I'm like, who are they writing for? Who are they? It was just one. That I wouldn't say that was woke garbage, but most of it is woke garbage that they just every week they try to say, how can we be more, PC than last week? That's the way it's gone for SI. They'll tell you how wonderful Kaepernick is, and it's just the usual stuff, kind of like ESPN. But in this case, I don't want to say they went. They just went to the ultimate extreme of celebrating diversity. Their magazine, their swimsuit issue, which comes out this week, I believe, will feature this year, Matt Carano. I know you're excited about this. It will feature a transgender model, a curve model, a plus size model, and a pregnant model. They have a bunch of, as my old partner John Dennis used to say, a bunch of Zoftic women, a bunch of large, big-boned women, plus-size models, and they're celebrating what's the opposite of fat shaming? Fat celebrating? They're
Sure.
fat celebrating, and you're not allowed to question it. You're not allowed to mock it. You can if you're just, in the media. And this is one of those topics that I want to do because I know I couldn't do on the radio. I couldn't write a column about it. 20, 30 years ago you could, but you're not allowed to anymore. You're not allowed to mock SI for putting a biological male, transgender female on the cover. And I got to be honest, her name is Lena Bloom.
Yeah.
Lena Bloom is not that attractive. She looks female and she has a large chest, but if she weren't transgender, she wouldn't be on the cover. And as soon as you or I tweet about it, as soon as you say anything like boy, this is nuts. Putting a transgender and a fat, I don't know, what is the politically correct term for fatties? I mean,
Obese, I don't know, large, plus
obese,
size.
large women, and saying, isn't this wonderful? Which is an odd thing to do when we just went through a pandemic that killed obese people, to then celebrate obese people on the cover of a magazine, or in a magazine. But there are three covers. One is Megan the Stallion, who is, checks a couple of those boxes. She's a very large woman. One is Naomi Osaka, who just wants to be left alone, the tennis player, the introvert who can't handle the media. And since she pulled out of whatever she pulled out of the Wimbledon, or was it the French Open? I think it was the French Open, because she doesn't want to deal with the media. She has made a deal for a reality show. She has put out a Barbie doll, like an Osaka Barbie doll, and she is now on the cover of the SI swimsuit issue. This is a woman who won't play in tournaments if they require her to answer a few basic questions from the media. She can't handle that. Creates too much anxiety. But she can be on the cover of the swimsuit issue, barely clothed, and she can make her own reality show. So there's there's some questions I have for her. But again, you're not allowed to question any of this. I've done it. You question Sports Illustrated putting a biological man, transgender female, in a bikini on the cover on the beach. And if you say, boy, I remember when they just had, beautiful women, people are like, oh, you transphobe, you bigot, you dinosaur, you Neanderthal, because you don't think their target audience, which again is mostly 16-year-old boys, but it's males who like to look at gorgeous women. If you think that that's kind of missing the mark when they put this person on the cover and they put these large women in the magazine, you say that's bending over backwards to celebrate diversity and inclusion when guys just want hot chicks.
Well, I wonder if no one's buying the Sports Illustrated anymore, that demographic of young males are not buying this anymore, because to your point earlier, they can, if they want porn, they can certainly reach it in other ways, or if they want sports news, they can reach it on Twitter, all day, all night. So I wonder if that demo's fading anyway, and they're trying to break new ground in other demographics.
I don't think they're trying to sell. I honestly think there are some places, Time Magazine's another example, it's dying, people aren't buying it, and they don't care. These are hardcore ideologues, and they are there to advance an agenda. They're there to change the face of this country and this industry. And they are more concerned with the woke agenda. They're more concerned with throwing this in your face, whether it's the large women, the transgender woman, the people of color, whatever. They're more concerned with that than they are with the target demo. You wouldn't believe how bad the numbers are. The circulation. When I worked there, it was over 3 million a week who bought Sports Illustrated. I believe it's under 200,000 now, maybe under 100,000. It's just dying fast. And again, like Time Magazine or like Atlantic Magazine, they don't care. The people working there are young, and they are committed, and they are leftists, and their goal is to change the world. It is not to sell magazines.
I wouldn't believe that that companies would go woke over, like way over profits. But I mean, you have that experience with EEI. That's exactly what they did with you on the air as well. Companies are willing to blow up, their entire profits just to simply satisfy a woke mob.
And in the transgender issue is the best example, because you're talking less than 0.1% of the public, probably. I don't have the exact number, but it's a very, very small minority. And not only do they feature them in, ESPN made Caitlyn Jenner, gave her the Courage Award a couple of years ago, the Courage Award. And as I pointed out at the time, there was a disabled veteran, Noah Galloway. I joked that he finished second. This guy who lost 3 limbs and just was an amazing example, was on the cover of Men's Health, or Pete Frates, who was raising millions for for ALS, a former athlete. Shove him aside. Let's honor Caitlyn Jenner, who did nothing that wasn't self-serving. She wasn't known for doing any charity work or helping, mentoring young kids. In fact, less than a year before they gave her the Courage Award, she killed someone on the highways of California and showed very little remorse. But these people are so woke and so determined to advance, to promote their agenda. They don't care. They don't care that Caitlyn Jenner didn't do anything courageous. They just know she transitioned, and they want to throw that in your face. That's what they're doing here. And you had better be careful when you talk about this issue. Trust me, they are a very small but very powerful and effective minority. They will come after you. You and I have talked about Abigail Shrier, the author. No conservative. I mean, she just wrote about this craze among young girls. The numbers back it up. The number of young girls who are transitioning, and the number of people in the medical field who are helping them. 13, 14-year-old girls who want to be boys. She wrote about it. It's a very it's interesting book and eye-opening. And they want it banned. They don't want to debate it. They don't want to discuss it. They want to ban it. And of course, people like Jeff Bezos, they're all in. They'll ban it. They don't want more speech. They don't want debate. They don't want information. They want it banned, and they want you to sit down and shut up. No more than that. They want you to sit down. They want you to stand up and applaud. If you don't do that, if you don't say this is wonderful that Lena Bloom is on the cover of Sports Illustrated, a biological male, now transgender female, if you don't applaud it, if you don't say that's wonderful, that's progress, they will come for you. They will come after you, and they will try to get you canceled. They'll try to remove your book from the shelves or from the stores, and they will come after your advertisers. They will try to destroy you if you don't stand up and applaud. If you spend 1 minute saying, who the hell is this magazine for? Who are they? I mean, I'm sure you have known young guys who, thought the swimsuit issue was cool. Oh, great, hot chicks. Look at, Giselle. And now they're going to pick it up and say, there's a transgender individual on the cover, and they're supposed to get some 16-year-old boy supposed to get excited about that. Maybe
it's not for them anymore. It's not for them.
Right. It's not for them. It's for, the same in the little woke echo chamber in New York City, in DC, in LA, San Francisco. It's for these radicals who want to change the world. They want to fundamentally transform the country. And again, I flipped through the New York Post has a little rundown of all the models. And some of them are spectacular, as always. And they're, old school, thin, beautiful models. But others are, they look like, Vince Wilfork. And you say, okay, that's, I'm not going to say that's beautiful. I'm not going to say, especially again, it's not healthy. It's not healthy to say this woman weighs 250 pounds. Isn't it great to see her on the beach in a bikini? Maybe some people are into that. There's something for everyone. There's chubby chasers out there, but it's not a healthy look. And it's not most guys, 99% of guys would rather see whoever sees a old style supermodel on there than see a, what's the big woman from This Is Us, who's the big celebrity. What do you know her name?
No idea. No. I don't watch that.
I don't either, but I know people. I know who's on TV shows and stuff like that. I read up,
You do read, yes.
Yes. But anyway,
Chrissy
we'll see how it does. Can we hear? I know you have some sound. I want to hear from the newest, this groundbreaker, this pioneer, not the 82-year-old woman who's about to go into space in 24 minutes. We're talking about Lena Bloom, the first transgender cover model on for SI swimsuit issue. It's a good thing she made it in this year, because I'm not sure how many more years SI is going to be able to do this if this is their current approach. But can we hear from Lena?
Yeah.
It was, I think they started doing, like, interviews looking for talent like 2 years before. I came in a year into the project before it started taping.
What you talking about?
She's talking about this is an old clip from June. I couldn't get anything recent about the SI stuff, but another project that she's working on.
She says on Instagram after they chose her for the cover, she says, "This moment heals a lot of pain in the world. We deserve this moment. We have waited millions of years to show up as survivors and be seen as full humans filled with wonder." It's a long Instagram post. I have dreams. I have dreamt a million beautiful dreams, but for girls like me, most dreams are just fanciful hopes in a world that often erases and omits our history and even existence. This moment is so powerful because it allows me to live forever, even after my physical form is gone. Not a lot of people get to live in the future. So at this moment, I'm proudly choosing to live forever. Okay, she's strange, she's weird, but this is the moment she lives forever. I guess she does. She makes history. It's a provocative thing. People are going to talk about it. Maybe that was SI's goal, but I'm not sure this is what their readers. Oh, there's not many readers left or subscribers left, but I'm not sure this is what they wanted. But it is amazing to me, Carano. You watch. You're new to this. You watch, I don't know, talk shows, podcasts, Sunday morning, political shows, the Fox News shows, the Greg Gutfelds, and it would seem to be a pretty interesting topic on a slow day. They have a transgender person. I'd be surprised if they touch it, because they're not, and I'm not blaming them. I've lived through it. These people will ruin, or they will try to ruin your life if you question, if you say, this is kind of strange that they have all these gorgeous women to choose from, and they choose a transgender model when they know that not everybody would be excited about that. Not all their readers, not all their customers. They do it anyway. That would seem to me to be a pretty interesting topic on a talk show. You watch. They will barely touch it if they mention it at all. That's the success, the great victory of the super woke crowd that really makes this, and this is the most important issue for a lot of them. They've already won. You're not allowed. They don't allow a dissenting word. They're kind of like the Biden administration. You say one word that they don't like, they will crush you. And they're a small minority, but a powerful minority. You watch as this plays out over the next few days or weeks. But congratulations to all of them. Megan Thee Stallion, and someone has to tell her she spells the wrong. You got to someone has to point that out to her. Naomi Osaka, I'm sure this is going to help her stage fright, her anxiety. She's now the cover girl in a bikini on SI, and Lena Bloom. I'm not sure the pregnant one's name or any of the plus size women's names, but you could see them. And you don't have to buy the magazine. You could just Google it. But that's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do next year. What do they do next year? How do you top this?
Can't top it. I think they're at the zenith, the pinnacle.
You can't do it again, though. That would be boring to just have another transgender model. So you have to, maybe they'll have one of the big girls next year. Or maybe it'll be, I don't know. That's the other, SI's latest, I think the latest issue. It's about disabled athletes, like Paralympians, and there's someone with a prosthetic leg. There's a blind runner, and I think that's wonderful. I think that's great for disabled people. These are heroes and these are inspirational people, but that's not what SI used to be. I mean, they used to try to sell magazines. They used to try to make news and tell stories that everybody was interested in. It's wonderful that you have these disabled athletes in the Paralympics, but that's they're not they're not generally the big story of the week. You know what I mean? They're not. If you go to the Olympics, there's some big stories. These disabled athletes are great stories, and you want them in the magazine, but it just seems like everything they do is pandering to some group or some special interest. And that can't be a good business model. But anyway, all right, let's get to the January 6th.
Do you want to hit Shay before we do that?
Let me hit Shay, and then we'll tell you about the first shoe to fall, the first January 6th insurrectionists to get sent up the river to the big house. But first, let me tell you about Shay. Let me tell you what Shay can do for you. All right, his name is Paul Hodgkins. He's a 38-year-old crane operator from Florida, and he came up to D.C. on January 6th. And as far as I can tell, he didn't assault anybody. He didn't punch, hit, kick any cops. He didn't spray bear spray on any cops. He had a Trump flag and a Trump shirt, and he walked around the Capitol. And that's trespassing, and that's whatever they call it, disrupting a proceeding, a rarely used charge that's rarely invoked by the authorities. I believe in 2018, a big group of feminist protesters stormed into the Senate during an official proceeding. They went down the aisles screaming about Kavanaugh being a gang rapist. They accosted senators in the elevators, in the hallways. I believe none of them was charged with disrupting a official proceeding. Paul Hodgkins was. That made it a felony. The prosecution wanted 18 months and asked the judge to make an example of him because they have many, many more cases. They have 500 more people to put away. But the guy's doing 8 months in prison. He'll lose his job. He'll probably lose all his money. His whole life has been turned upside down for, I believe, trespassing, which happens a lot in the Capitol. But in this case, these are enemies of the regime. These are people that they want to make an example of. So he's going to go to prison, and he's already been in jail for a while, but he's going to go to prison for 8 months, which is less than the prosecution wanted. But I think that will set the standard. Anybody who trespassed, who walked into the Capitol when the cops, opened the door and welcomed them in, is going to do at least 8 months, which is nuts. Every time I tweet about this, every time I talk about this, I hear from people saying, screw them, screw those people, they suck. Because, again, they're enemies of the regime. They're Trump supporters. People hate them. I don't know how you could argue that it's not a political persecution or, a political prosecution, whatever you want to call it. It is political. What this guy did, what Paul Hodgkins did, was nothing compared to what Antifa scum did all across this country for 250 nights. Last summer, last fall, last winter, charges for most of the Antifa criminals, including the ones who tried to set the courthouse on fire every night, have been dropped. We know they were bailed out by Kamala Harris. We know the prosecution, these radical DAs, are reluctant to press any charges. Rarely does any of them go to prison for even a day. And when they get bailed out, they come right back and start throwing bricks again.
And that's the thing. It's not even a comparison. You're talking about someone who's nonviolent, who trespassed, but did a nonviolent thing versus people who were throwing bricks, throwing Molotov cocktails, lighting things on fire. Those are all violent actions. And for this guy to serve,
so you're with me on this, Carano? Good.
I am. Yes, of course.
Because a lot of people are not, just because they hate the MAGA crowd. And what many of them did was disgusting on January 6th. And if they were smashing windows or shoving cops, I'm all for putting them in jail. I'm all for proportion here. Again, the thing that bothers people is not necessarily the prosecution. It's the two-tier justice system. I mean, I did this yesterday because it was the anniversary of Ted Kennedy murdering Mary Jo Kopechne.
Yep.
And I admit that it has always been a trigger for me to think of this fat, drunken scumbag senator killing Mary Jo Kopechne, a woman he didn't even know her name, just some young woman. He was married, obviously. He was screwing around. He was driving drunk. They went in the water. She had plenty of time to be saved. He had no interest in saving her. He swam back, took a nap, and then started calling his political fixers and lawyers because there was some girl in the car. He put a neck brace on and pretended to be remorseful. He lost his license, I think, for 6 months. He didn't do a day in jail. He murdered somebody and didn't do a day in jail. And the voters of Massachusetts sent him back to the Senate every 6 years until he died in 2009. An absolute disgrace to this state, a disgrace to this country, just a vile person who was elected in a landslide every year because, people love the Kennedys and because they like free stuff. But didn't do a day in jail. Paul Hodgkins is going to do 8 months plus for waving a flag and walking through the Capitol. That's it. And he's the first of many. And there will be many of them going to jail, doing hard time, losing their jobs, losing their small businesses, being pariahs because they walked into the Capitol when the cops opened the doors and they strolled around. We've seen some of the video. Again, there are some violent guys. There's some vandals. Punish them and put them in jail. That's fine. But there are 500 people who are going to go to jail here. 500 people who trespassed and maybe were charged with disorderly conduct who are going to go to jail, probably be in solitary confinement for a good long stretch. They're going to over punish hundreds of people for this just because they dared to protest against the election of Joe Biden, just because they dared to take a stand against the regime. It's going to get ugly, but there's one person, as I've said many times, who covers this. And if you don't follow Julie Kelly from American Greatness, you're missing something because she's done great work. She talks to the family. She talks to some of the people the rioters who've been charged. She gets her hands on some of the video. Yesterday, she had an amazing tweet, and it was, I don't even know how you get this, but she says these prisoners, the January 6th insurrectionists who are in this deplorable jail, it's a jail in D.C., they're in really crappy conditions. Some of them have alleged abuse at the hands of the guards, but apparently it's a filthy jail in D.C. And every night at 9:00, the deplorables who are in jail, all the insurrectionists, sing the national anthem, I guess, to end another boring day in jail. And somehow Julie Kelly got a hold of the audio. Do we have this?
I have the audio. It's really rough, but I can play if you want. Yep.
This is the deplorables in jail at 9:00 each night singing the anthem together. All right.
That out. Yeah.
I wonder if these guys, when they get out, are going to be on TV. Are they going to become, activists when they get out and be on Fox News or be on Newsmax and, talking to the New York Post? Are they going to become, like celebrities, personalities out there? Because there's a whole bunch of them and they must be so bitter, just so wound up and ready to get out and tell their stories.
I hope so, because there's a lot that can be said for for the justice system targeting nonviolent people. I mean, this is a pretty clear example of a lot of railroading that's going on. You'll hear I've got a cut of Ryan Lucas too from NPR, who was in the courtroom talking about what the judge said, who wanted to make an example of Paul Hodgkins. So I mean that's not right in a nonviolent situation.
And I tweeted about this, and it's amazing how many people say 8 months, not enough. And I'm like,
it's crazy. Months? Nonviolent people don't belong in prison.
Literally, you know what? People like Paul Hodgkins didn't think they were really doing anything really egregious. I mean, they thought it's the Capitol. They've seen protesters. They probably saw the Kavanaugh protesters walking through the Capitol. They got a flag. They're walking through the Capitol. They're not jabbing anyone with the flagpole or smashing any windows. And they're thinking, oh, those idiots over there are vandalizing. They'll probably go to jail, but not me. I'm not doing anything. And then they find out they're going to spend, the next year plus in jail. I think it was a shock to all of them. And I've said this before, but a year of watching Antifa scum, Black Lives Matter people destroying cities on TV. You sit back and you say, wow, they're just destroying stores and businesses and burning courthouses. And it kind of trains your mind to think that it's not really that wrong to maybe, whatever, kick in a window. These people do it every night, and none of them ever seem to do any time. There are no consequences, but they forgot that only one side is allowed to do that. Only the friends of Kamala and Joe are allowed to, burn buildings and destroy small businesses with impunity. You can't do that if you're on the other side.
And you have members of Congress too. I can't remember who it was. You probably have a better memory for this than I do, saying that sometimes you need to get violent. It's like during the Antifa protests, like members of Congress were saying that.
I can remember it well, Matt.
I'm sure you can.
That would be Ayanna Pressley.
Yes, that's right.
Said we need more uprising in the streets. So people in Minneapolis or Kenosha who are trying to run a shoe store and they're destroying the place, turn on their TV, and elected members of Congress said, we need more of that. There are no members of Congress who are really defending the January 6th rioters. Hell, at some point there has to be somebody, Ted Cruz or Jim Jordan has to come up and say, okay, enough. They crossed the line, they committed crimes, make them pay a fine, make them do community service, but you can't put everyone who walked through the Capitol in prison for a year. That's overdoing it. That's overreaching. No one says that. But if you put Antifa, if you even question Antifa or God knows you question Black Lives Matter, a Marxist organization that wants to defund the police and end capitalism, if you question them, then you're racist or whatever. But I asked this last week: Are any of the people in Congress or celebrities who are big BLM fans going to stand with them when they defended the communist thugs in Cuba against the dissidents? I don't see too many people standing with Black Lives Matter on this. They'll still send them money and fly their little flags or put their signs up that says BLM. But when BLM says we're with the communist tyrants in Cuba, their friends are oddly silent. Didn't hear anything from the Red Sox organization, which loves to virtue signal and show you their Black Lives Matter banner. Didn't hear much about Cuba from them or from any of the elected officials, as you point out. Although AOC said it was all the United States' fault. So the squad, squad will never let you down. They hate America.
Have some nuance, AOC. Like, yes, the embargo is a problem. It would be better off if we traded with Cuba to try to bring them into the 21st century, to try to show them what freedom's all about. Yes, that would be better. But at the same time, like, this is a communist dictatorship who are walking into people's houses and shooting them in the head. Like, we're seeing that on TV.
Right.
So
there's literally prisons with political.
Oh yeah.
With dissidents in prison, torturing, killing them. And we have Congress people. Realize not really smart Congress people,
no.
real dumb Congress people like AOC saying, yeah, we're with the government of Cuba against the dissidents. It's despicable.
It's crazy.
And I think they'll, in the long run, this will kill. They'll lose. They've already lost Florida because these people are pretty passionate about what's going on in Cuba, and they know there's good guys and bad guys. And people like AOC and Ilhan Omar and Ayanna they're with the bad guys.
Would she say we're with the Taliban? Like, would she say that too? It's the same. It's equivalent.
I know with the Soviet Union. We're with. We're with.
She's too young. She doesn't understand. She doesn't understand it.
We're with Kim Jong-un, the guy.
Right.
But you're right. She's just dumb. She's just dumb, and she's got a lot of influence. It's kind of an amazing thing, and you can't be really bright and really well read on the subject and think we're with the Castro regime or with the Raul Castro, who's there now, probably ordering the executions. Yeah, we're with that guy.
Although, to be fair, people have martyred, Che for decades, right? With T-shirts and stuff. So I never underestimate stupidity.
Right. They have these shirts and, Che Guevara. It's true. And never underestimate the lemming factor where they're just going to follow along and say, oh yeah, I'm with the squad, or I'm with, BLM, even though what BLM is doing here is anti-American, anti-freedom. It's disgusting, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Hopefully, it roils for a little longer in the dissidents, get some support from around the world. But anyway,
Did you want to hear a little bit about from the judge though, or did you want to move
oh
on?
yes, let's
Or
hear
no,
from
it's not from the
Judge.
judge. It's from Ryan Lucas is quoting the judge. You ready? Here it is.
I'm ready.
Judge Moss said what happened on January 6th was horrific and it did profound damage to the country's democracy. And he said it is essential to send a message that the rioters' actions are unacceptable. But at the same time, he's sentencing only Paul Hodgkins for his actions. And Moss said he thinks Hodgkins made some very bad decisions on January 6th, but he doesn't think that Hodgkins poses a threat in the future.
So if he doesn't pose a threat in the future and he wasn't violent, why are you putting him in prison at all? Fine him.
Are you supposed to, if you're a judge? I was wondering this when I was reading about this. Are you supposed to say, I need to come down hard on this guy to deter the next guy? I mean, is that supposed to be in your purview that I say, if I put this guy in jail and over punish him, maybe no one, I'm pretty sure no one's going to storm the Capitol ever again, at least not in my lifetime, because people are going to be reluctant to, wear a red hat just because they know they now see their government is capable of political persecution. As that is, they're not hesitating to use the power, the full force of the U.S. government to come down to persecute their enemies, the enemies of the state. I'm not sure a judge is supposed to keep that as part of his decision-making process. I want to make sure no one does this again. I think by keeping these people in solitary confinement, some for 6 months, like the QAnon shaman, Viking man, I'm pretty sure that has served as a deterrent.
Oh,
there's not going to be a lot of people going in the Capitol with Trump flags ever again, at least not in my lifetime.
No, probably not.
And you know what? They'll probably shoot them on sight, since the cop who shot Ashley Babbitt has paid no price. They won't even name his name. So they probably whip out their weapons as soon as anyone walks through the hallway, if they have a Trump flag. But anyway, Fauci wants 3-year-olds to wear masks. I can't believe anyone listens to Fauci. And Ben and Jerry's are not going to sell their ice cream in occupied Palestine. Is there anyone? I mean, there's a little competition among these super woke corporations of how much can, how far can we go? This seems, when you first heard this, when I heard, I just laughed. I mean, talk about virtue signal. Does that really have any effect on anything, anywhere at all?
Nothing at all.
I mean, you said you were disappointed because why? You like what?
Oh, fish food is a great flavor, but without fish food, I probably would stop eating Ben and Jerry's. They're too political for me. It's not what I mean.
You go in a store, there's 100 different kinds.
That's true.
Ben and Jerry's might be really good, but so is, whatever, Haagen-Dazs, right? There's all kinds of kinds. You can get some other kind. These two, I mean, it almost, and I don't even know what this means. They're just not going to sell ice cream in Israel. Is that it?
I think that's what they mean. Yeah.
And they call it occupied Palestine.
Yes, they do.
I guess, I don't even know why anyone supports that. Like, if you like their ice cream, I mean, there are people who won't buy it because they hate Ben and Jerry, but are there people who go out of their way to buy it because they hate Jews, just like Ben and Jerry? Are they anti-Semitic like Ben and Jerry?
That's an interesting question. They might be. Yeah. Once again, though, you're having a company with no nuance. It's like there's problems in the region on both sides. It's like, have some nuance.
Right. You know what? I'm not going to eat Ben and Jerry. I don't remember last time I've eaten Ben and Jerry's, but I'm not going to start now. How's that?
Fine.
I'm not going to start now, and I'm not going to renew my subscription to Sports Illustrated, which I wasn't going to do.
Big day.
And I'm going to continue to follow Brandy Love because, I have to. She's a political commentator. She's kind of an influencer. So I have to. Occasionally she tweets out hardcore pornography, but that's the price you have to pay if you want to follow all the big social media influencers out there. But all right, Karana, we will leave it there. I don't know where these people come from. I don't know who they are, but after your first day yesterday, first official day, you got so much support online, on Twitter, on social media. Who are these people? These
are fans.
Your surfing friends? Are these libertarians? Are these quantum weak people? Who are they?
I haven't even. I think there's a lot of Minifans, some Quantum Week folks, and some of the Libertarian people. I haven't even tapped the Libertarian group. You watch what's going to happen when that starts getting fun.
I thought the Minifans didn't like you. I thought that's why the Callahan was their choice. They liked him.
No, there's a small group of Minifans that he plays nice with that I have no patience for.
And they don't
No,
like
most Minifans like me.
They do.
Yeah, no, they don't like me because I just won't play. I'm not going to play troll games with them.
Oh, that's what it takes. You gotta. I don't play troll games with them either. But who has time? Who has
All that
time?
stuff is good. They're not even like they're not even a part of. You never see any of that stuff anyway. So it's that's fine. No, I have a lot of Minifan fans. So do you, I think.
Oh, sure, yeah, millions of them. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how long they stay with us.
Yeah,
We'll they turn quickly. Carano, I was going to say Callahan. They'll turn quickly on him too. All right, it is 6 minutes, T-minus 6 minutes till the Bezos rocket heads into space and out of this atmosphere. I'm paying attention. I guess that's more than I usually do when these spaceships take off and all the space nerds get all excited. It's the old lady. It's all strapped into place. The kid from where's he from? The Netherlands. All strapped in and ready to go. You know what? I think this is like flying a shuttle to New York. I think this is really routine. I don't think anyone's all that nervous. I don't think it's going to blow up. I don't think there's going to be any disasters. I think they know exactly what they're doing. So did Branson. So does Musk. I don't think this is that bold. I really don't. This is just a little plaything.
Walk in the park.
Yep, just a little plaything. It's like being in a kid's bouncy house at a birthday party. They just jump around in the atmosphere, out of the atmosphere for a couple minutes and come on back. And everyone's going to say, "Isn't it wonderful? Oh, he's so bold. He's like a modern day, Alan Shepard or Neil Armstrong."
I can't wait till we shoot you into space. I think I think that'll be good podcasting.
Not my thing, man. Not my thing. But anyway, we wish them well. Godspeed, Bezos. All right, Carano, anything else?
That'll do.
That will do it for today. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.